Hello and welcome to the next episode of my Sound Design Here Create series. This is Project 3, Machine Life, Episode 3, Drill and Click. Let's first recap what it is that we're doing here today. Sound Design Here Create is a series where we undertake a set of projects, each driven by a prompt. These are sound design centric and they produce audio or music. In this case, the prompt is from this image, which is a pick and place machine, and the prompt is as follows. Here is a machine. Create the sound it makes in operation. So over the last couple of episodes, we went through a process of generating some ideas and making some sounds on the microphone. Last episode, we got IK Multimedia Uno Synth Pro and created a few sounds that will be synthesized. Since then, I've gone around the house and I've recorded a set of samples, or rather, in the garage I recorded a set of samples which we're going to listen to now and watch the process, and then I'm going to arrange these synthesized sounds and these sampled sounds in time with a segment of the video in Reaper. Now I'm not going to do that much sound design here because primarily I'm most comfortable in Bitwig. So what I'm really using Reaper for here is going to be creating the stems. Now I said I'm going to do a segment of the video. That is because aligning all of the audio for the full video might be quite boring and it might take quite some time. So expect me between this video and the next one to have completed that arrangement process and to have the stems. Okay, so let's have a look at the recording process. So as before, that's the Zoom H5 with the capsule, XY capsule of a Zoom H6. It's got a windscreen on. First, this is an impact driver. This is what I use when I need to put a screw into the wall or elsewhere. So you can see I've tried to run it at a few different speeds to get some different timbres out of it. I think in general I managed to get the volume correct, so I didn't really clip too much here. Next, this is the corresponding drill from the same series. It's a little bit louder, the tone is a little bit different. I haven't really run it at full speed, but I think these sounds could be equivalently useful. Next, here is me using a, well, I want to call it a hacksaw, but really it's a hacksaw blade holder. I'm using it on a scrap of wood that I happen to have in the garage. So I'm not quite sure what I'll use all the sounds for, so this one I think is quite interesting. This is a track pump, like you would use to pump up bicycle tires. The first time I run it, I just lift the piston handle and I release it and let it go down under gravity. Then I have a couple of other sounds where I'm applying some pressure to it, which makes a different sound. Now, I've got a couple of chopsticks here. First, I'm tapping them together, trying to get some sort of, I guess, clave-like sounds. Next, I'm snapping them. So I found that, I don't know if you can see the flashing light on the audio recorder, that means it's clipping. Next, I've grabbed some construction blocks. I think these are called mega blocks in case you'd like to recreate the sound. And I've interfaced them in a few different ways, trying to get some different tones. Again, I moved to different distances, and here is me cracking my knuckles. Again, I don't know if I'm going to use this sound directly, but I think it's quite an interesting tone in any case. I'm not going to play the whole video through, but let's have a quick look at it just to remind ourselves what we're working with. So this is a pick and place machine. It has a sort of XY motor drive above, and this main head moves around. There's a platform which moves up and down, and then these individual heads on that platform are placing parts. There is a light at the back, which I think is heating the elements before placing them. We have the conveyor belt, which is bringing the PCB across, and some sort of stop, which pops up and moves down. So today I'm not using a synthesizer, I'm just using a Reaper, so there's nothing on my desk of interest, so you're not missing out. Let's see what I've set up so far. All I've done is I've loaded all of these samples in, and the samples which I took in the garage, I've clipped them to be roughly the right length. I've done some noise reduction where necessary because it happened to be raining when I was recording those. and I've normalized them. A couple of them I've compressed them slightly, or I've trimmed a bit of audio, but basically what you hear is what I recorded. I haven't done anything significant. And what's really going to happen now is I'm going to be moving these things around and trying to bring the sound together to some extent. So let's start this playing from the beginning. You'll notice I have a loop region marked. This is the region where I intend to actually place the audio for today, but we're going to have to decide which audio to use. So this drone sounds, I think we already know what it sounds like. It's one of the sounds we made last time, and I think we're definitely going to use that. My inclination is immediately that it's far too loud, so I'm going to jump into the mixer. I'm going to pull the volume way down. The next sounds are the bleeps from the lights. I think we already know what that sounds like. We've got the sound that I synthesized for the head platform moving up and down. I think I'm happy with that. But let's listen to one of the first sampled sounds. So immediately on hearing that, the first few presses were under gravity, the last one were forced by me. That last one in particular, it reminds me of a belt drive. Now, as I said, I'm not really doing sound design in this episode, I'm just going to be arranging. So I think this will actually need filtering and it will need some timbre shifts once we get into Bitwig. But I think that's going to work, so I think therefore the bike pump is going to be the sound of the main XY drive. Next, these blocks. So if you remember, there was a sort of little stop at the end of the PCB that pops up and down, and I described it as I imagined it like a little pop sound. So I think these block impacts might be a good pop sound. So let me start renaming these things. I'm going to call this one main drive. I'm going to call this one PCB stop. So let's listen to the next one. This is the chopsticks. So I think the sound of cracking them when I actually snap them is a bit strong, but that first sound when I'm just tapping them, I quite like it maybe as the sound of the parts being placed, where the part on the pick and place hits the machine. It would have to be quite quiet. So firstly, I think I'm just going to turn it down in advance. Okay, and I'm going to call it place part. So next we have the drill. So the drill sound is a rather intense sound, and it's rather long-lived sound, but I can almost imagine these individual little head elements that are moving up and down, they would have a sound something like that as they move down and they move back up. So I think I'm going to call it, let's see, part head movement. Let's have a listen to some of these others. Now I like the stereo movement on that, it sounds pretty cool, but I'm not convinced that it really makes sense here, so let me perhaps pull that down. And let's try this one. So this is the impact driver, the one that we use for putting screws in. So that first, slower part of it, what it makes me think of is a conveyor belt. Immediately I think it's too loud, so let's go impact driver, let's bring it down a bit. Listening to the first of these sounds. Yeah. So it makes me think of a conveyor belt, so I'm going to call that conveyor belt. And Just pull this into the timeline. So I quite like that sound, but I'm not sure where exactly it's going to fit. So I think possibly we're not going to use it. So now we've decided which sound is going to be which. We're going to have to start placing these. In order to place, well, firstly the drone is continuous, so I don't really need to do anything for that. For the other sounds, I'm going to need to break them down into their constituent parts. So let's look at the first one. These are supposed to be the beeps that represent the heating element. That's the orange light in the background. So what I can do is, you can't see the menu popping up, but I'm going into Item Processing, Dynamics Split. And you can see that it's divided the audio. And these are the individual constituent parts that it's divided it into. And what I'll be able to do then is place these, pull them along. Oops, I did not actually move those. Let's try again. I guess you'll also probably realize that one of the reasons, as I said, that I'm not going to do this full process in Reaper is I'm not super comfortable in Reaper. So I'm using it because it has good integration with the video here. So I like that first beep sound. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to pull the other beep sounds out of this stretch of the timeline so they don't play, and I'm going to duplicate this and it's going to play at the key moments here. So let's stop this playing. Let's zoom in a bit. And let's move through this timeline to see where we want to go. So you can see that's where it's actually starting. I can hold Shift to place it. Okay, so there it's gone off. So actually it's about right. I might, I'll probably just time stretch it down so it fits. So let's play that. That works. So let's let it keep going. And there's another instance of it. So let me zoom out. Let's grab this. Let's drag it. Oops. Can I control drag it maybe? Yeah, control drag makes another instance of it. Let's see where to place it. So around about there. Pull this back. And let's find out the exact spot. So a little bit earlier. Let's see what we got. There it is. And now let's continue playing. Okay, and now again, let's shrink this down so it fits. Zoom out, let's keep it playing. Okay, so I think that looks right. Already I think it's a bit loud, so let's just turn it down a bit. Let's get this drone sound in as well. Still maybe a bit loud. Too quiet now. Too quiet. Okay, there we go. So now we've got this sound of the platform moving up and down. Since I already did those last episode, rather than do those up front, I think I'm going to jump to one of the other sounds, probably this main drive sound, for the motion of the overall motion of the head. And if it looks like the video is running long, I might skip some of these, and you'll see them when it's completed. So let's jump to this one. And like we did last time, I'm going to go item processing, dynamic split. That looks tremendously messy. So I think I probably won't do it like that. Yeah, so what I can do then is I can place the cursor where I wanted the cut. So let's just stop it playing, and I can just hit S to split at that point. So let's split it there. Zoom in a little more. Split it there. And then this piece is now nothing. I think the one that I want is probably this one here. Let me just try and listen to it. Actually, no, I like that last one, so let's bring this across. Let's split this, and I'm just going to move the other audio out of the way. So this is supposed to represent the motion, the overall motion of the head that's moving around. So let's zoom in a bit, and let's just go back, start it playing. So first it moves all the way across, so let's do that. So this sound is going to begin almost immediately, I suppose. Let's just split it around about where? There and there. This, remove this, pull the fade in there, pull the end in there, pull in a fade at the end. Let's place the first one. Okay, it's surprisingly almost the correct length. I'm gonna pull that in a little bit. Then it moves back across. So I'm going to duplicate this. And this duplicate, I'm just gonna pull a piece out the middle of it. So let's just test it, just see how it sounds overall. Okay, I think that's working. So I've got a little bit of back and forth motion to get going here. So let's continue that. This could probably go on a little bit longer. I think I've got my fades a bit too long there. So let's make them fade a bit quicker. Okay, and now let me drag this over here somewhere. So it's just starting to move there. So let's place this correctly. Moves to there. Let's just again. There's a little sound and another one. So let's grab that and just duplicate it. So these got to almost be back to back. Let's zoom out a little bit and have a go. Okay, I'm liking that sound. As with all of them so far, this is way too loud. Let's try again. Go back to the video. Let's pick the next sound. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that came out. The sound of the PCB stop that I mentioned, it only happens once in this video. It happens now. So you see the little plastic device there, what looks plastic there, that drops down. So what I want to do is I want to use one of the block sounds, the sort of tapping sounds that I had, just to hint at that. So let's play a few of these and see which one I like. So I think I probably liked that one. So let me zoom in on that a bit, and I can slice the audio hopefully before and after that. Slice it there and there. And as I've been doing, I'm not actually going to delete the rest of this audio. I'm going to leave it sitting on the timeline before and after. Let's just pull this over. And now let's find the moment for it again. So there's the moment. Put this in. I think I need to be. Surprisingly, that is very close to where it needs to be. We don't actually need all of this empty space either side, so let's just pull it away. Let's zoom out, continue playing again. Yeah, nice. So, PCB stop, way too loud, but other than that, gentle tap sound. So, PCB, the part placement now. I think I said I wanted one of the earlier sounds. Let me solo this for a moment. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one, which is pretty quiet, which is what I really need for this. So let's slice before and after. Let's move the rest of the audio out of the way. There. Move this here. And I'm just going to work with this one. Yep, I think that's what I wanted. Let's trim it down a little bit. And now let's go and find somewhere to actually place this. So this is the sound when one of the parts actually hits the board. So just happened there. Let's bring the sound across. Zoom in a little. And there it is. So let's keep playing. So this one, let's duplicate it. Oops, did not do that at all. Okay, there's a duplicate. So let's continue playing it. Pull this back. I'll probably try and fit in another one if there's another one around. There's a third one there. Somewhere around there. Drag this back. I'll see if there's another one. There's another. A little earlier. Okay, so let's see how this works. Let's unsolo that. Yep, I think that's working. So what have we got next? I'm looking at the time and I'm taking quite a bit of time. So I think what I'll do is I'll do the conveyor belt sound, and that will be the last sound that I really demonstrate adding here. And what I will do then offline is I'll go through and I will align all of these across the entire video, and I will export some stems. The process is relatively painstaking to get very good alignment. I think I made myself a rather difficult video to work with here, but such is life. I like that slow sound that we have at the beginning there, so that's the sound I'm going to use. So let's say I'm going to slice it there and there. I'm going to move this forwards. This will go into the timeline. And now I'm going to find the interval where it's actually moving. So I think maybe I will add a sound corresponding to it dropping down as well, but I haven't actually created one of those yet. Let's pull this in. Let's zoom in. I think that's probably about right. It should be roughly occurring just after that little pop occurred, which is what we want. And then I will have the sound continue until it goes just off frame and it can fade out. So that's probably the last sound I'm going to do for now. Let me play through with all of those in place. Okay, so I am relatively happy with how that's coming out. As I said, there's quite a bit of work to get these things lined up and exactly in sync with the video, and that's going to be a process which is probably not tremendously interesting to watch. So rather than bore you, I will simply omit it for brevity. So I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you've been enjoying this project. I hope you've been enjoying this series. And I'd like to say thank you very much for joining me today, and goodbye.